Hey everybody, welcome back to another Chiefs Corner. Chief Master Sergeant Power, 67 Cyberspace Wing, with an exciting opportunity to connect today with one of our very, very best, Senior Master Sergeant Select, Cartalo Madison, the first sergeant of the 390th Cyber Operations Squadron. Senior Master Sergeant Select Madison. Sure, thank you so much for being here today. Super excited about this Chiefs Corner, to have this time to highlight you as a superstar in our wing, a great first sergeant for our Air Force. But first and foremost, would love to ask, why did you join the Air Force, and kind of what led you to who we know Senior Master Sergeant Select Madison as today?
First and foremost, thanks for the opportunity of being up here, Chief. Born and raised Suffolk/Chesapeake, Virginia. Don't really have a military background, with the exception of I have an older cousin who I very rarely saw growing up because he was in the Army. So I didn't really know much about the military. Didn't have any plans after high school. My plan was to potentially work 1 or 2 jobs and go to community college because I didn't, take myself or life or school serious when I was in high school. Actually, one day I heard they made an announcement, said if you want to take the ASVAB test, please stay after school. So I asked my teacher, what's the ASVAB test? And she said, if you want to join the military. And I'm like, why would I want to join the military? And that's when she said, what did you tell me your plans was? Exactly, take the ASVAB test. So took the ASVAB test. Once my scores and came back, didn't know what they meant. Talked to the ROTC instructor. They kind of gave me an idea what my scores what they mean and what jobs and career fields I kind of qualify for. And at that point, I started talking to my parents. And the only, one thing that they said was they didn't want me to join the military, first and foremost. Secondly, if you do join the military, Air Force or Navy. So at that point, continued to get curious, looking more brochures, went to the recruiter's office, saw a young staff sergeant who essentially exemplified the things that I now know of an airman. And that's kind of what led me to this point.
Awesome. Wow. Well, so grateful you stayed behind to take that ASVAB test. It's funny when you look back at our lives at those stages, like you, I didn't really have 100% intentions on joining the military. And for our school, taking the ASVAB was just, everybody's got to do it, but I took it without any expectation of joining the military. But it sounds like you made sure first learn about what the ASVAB was, and then thankfully you had a great teacher that influenced you in a very positive way that set you on a path that kind of led you to where you are now.
Yep.
So when you came into the Air Force, you became a firefighter. What led you to becoming a firefighter?
So to be honest, I didn't know what jobs the Air Force had. And once I saw what jobs I qualified for when I was up at MEPS, I was thinking, what jobs translate to the civilian sector, and also this sounds pretty cool. Yeah. So it was a couple jobs I selected based off of, like I said, those criteria. It sounded cool, and can I translate this to the civilian sector? Because the initial plan was to come in, maybe earn some education benefits, earn some skills, and separate. So that's kind of what led me to being a firefighter. Then when I became a firefighter, what I didn't realize was I didn't want to go to college because I didn't want to go to school. But as a firefighter, we have so many certifications and training, and it's been nonstop. And I just learned to love the grind of being a firefighter. Helping mitigate emergencies, saving lives, and so forth.
Yeah, it's such an admirable profession. I think we all appreciate firefighters, what they do. Most of us, when we see danger, we run from it, but firefighters run to it. And it's pretty remarkable to serve with those who do it with passion, and train really, really hard to be really good at what they do, such as you for many years as a firefighter. And then at some point in time, as you're crushing it, or maybe extinguishing, the fires, and kind of training and always being ready for when called upon. At some point in time, you decided to become a first sergeant. So what led you from being a firefighter, doing great at your job, to becoming a first sergeant?
I think for me, I always took it an enlistment at a time, and kind of line my plans with that. When I became a staff sergeant, then I PCS'd to Holloman Air Force Base. When I was at Holloman, I think that was kind of a big turning point on kind of getting some of the behind the scenes on what a first sergeant do. I had a lot of airmen that helped me learn some things, good and bad. And I saw some amazing first sergeants. Not just my first sergeant, but I saw as a group, as a corps, how they kind of made things happen. And a lot of the things that first sergeant I now do as a first sergeant, I was doing at a lower level staff sergeant when it comes to educating my airmen, whether it be fitness, good order and discipline, or even advocacy. And I knew that as the more I progressed, I knew that in order to truly advocate for my airmen, to truly educate them and the masses, I would need to be in a position such as a first sergeant. And yeah, it's been downhill from there.
It seems kind of fitting, putting out fires, actual fires, and training to do that. And then as a first sergeant, I think in many ways you kind of put out those challenges that our airmen are faced with all the time in Air Force. I really appreciate just in the wing, I've gotten a chance to work closely with you through many of those, challenges and obstacles and circumstances our airmen have gone through. You've been at the forefront, leading the way, and kind of taking care of our airmen every day. Got to watch you real recently, receive some well-deserved recognition as our first sergeant of the year for our wing, which is huge. Congratulations on that.
Thanks, Chief.
So exciting to see you walk across that stage to get that award that you deserved. What does that mean to you to be a first sergeant of the year at the wing level?
I think for me is when I look at it, I'm being represented. I'm representing all the first sergeants. So a lot of the things I do behind the scenes and a lot of the work we put in, we're doing it together, or we're doing it as a team. Whether Shirt's hitting up me for advice, I'm hitting up Shirts for advice. And so I understand all the work that all these Shirts are putting in. So for me, I really appreciate it, and I don't take it lightly that my accomplishments are highlighted, because it very well could have been another first sergeant who's putting in a lot of work. So I look at it as I'm the one who's representing the team this year. Next year to be another Shirt who we'll help push forward. We'll help make sure their work behind the scenes is being highlighted. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, it's been a great year. First Sergeant of the Year, CMSgt and Select. I think the Air Force is definitely getting it right. So out there right now probably is watching somebody who aspires to be like you, wants to be a First Sergeant. What advice do you have for them on maybe what the application process is like, or what they would need to do to kind of get themselves ready to be considered?
So the first thing that I think they should do is talk to your First Sergeant. Talk to your First Sergeant, because there's a lot of things that we do that don't meet the surface. And in order to get the behind the scenes knowledge on it, you would need to essentially go to the symposium first, cover for your First Sergeant if you're not already doing that, as well as your First Sergeant can kind of create some targeted training and targeted learning experience for the individual. Then you want to talk to your commander and your SEL, because essentially your commander is going to be the ones recommending you to be a First Sergeant. Once you do that, you can go through MyVector. So essentially twice a year, you'll probably get an auto notification from MyVector saying that you're eligible and that the cycle's open, and it'll kind of walk you through the process. Go through MyVector, submit the initial nomination form, which you have to put your commander's info in there, and then your commander will make the recommendation. At that point, we have the FSRP panel. We do that twice a year, where you have a group of first sergeants who solely dedicated to reviewing records and conducting an interview board, which we make a recommendation to the hiring authority, command first sergeants and command chiefs.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate knowing that the Air Force, we're always looking for the best of the best across our senior NCO Corps, and to try to set them up for an opportunity to put a diamond on their chevron, because more often than not, they are that first sergeant that our airmen are going to. They're already influencing, making impacts like you were back in your firefighting days. But we can just align the Air Force's needs with goals and aspirations of outstanding airmen, put that together. The one thing I'd add to the many words of advice and wisdom that you have from your experience as a first sergeant, for those who are listening who might aspire to be like you, whenever I get a chance to do that command chief interview, probably one of those kind of things I want to make sure I always ask too, in addition to all those things that you covered, is making sure their family supports. And I know well the demands of a first sergeant are incredibly high. In fact, I think I've been credited of saying many times, I think the hardest job in the Air Force is being a first sergeant. You are on call 24/7. Yep. You're the person the commander looks to for advice on discipline, on standards. You're the person that every supervisor, flight chief, SEL, all of us go to when we're trying to get advice on what to do next. And you support everybody all the time. But you can't do that if you don't have support at home. So making sure your family is 100% behind you and understanding what the job is going to be
Yep.
is also a huge part. And I know you couldn't do that without your family and your support system.
Not at all. I have a very strong support system. It initially became a Shirt. It's definitely a lot of things I didn't know and how it would impact my livelihood at home, marriage, and so forth. So making sure my spouse, my wife, understands, everything that it entails for me to be a first sergeant was beneficial, because with her behind me, without her behind me, I probably wouldn't have accomplished anything that I've accomplished as a shirt.
Awesome. Well, hey, Senior Master Sergeant Select Cartalo Madison, thank you for being an outstanding first sergeant. Thank you for being in our Air Force. You absolutely make our Air Force better. I'm excited to serve with you in the 67th. I know, so we don't have any Senior Master Sergeant Diamonds in the wing, unfortunately, at least not at this time. So that means that at some point in the not too distant future, the Air Force is going to move you on to that next opportunity, that next responsibility. It's going to grow. The job enlargement is going to come, but you're absolutely the right person for that opportunity. Thanks for taking care of so many airmen every day, and there's going to be future first sergeants because of you and what you do. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for being here today. So, Gunslingers, thanks for tuning in to today's Chiefs Corner. We're excited to serve with Senior Master Sergeant Madison and all first sergeants who do this incredible work for our Air Force every day. And as always, light them up.